Hey everyone, David C. Anderson here, coming at you from the Knife Center. And today we're taking a look at some of the best cold steel folding knives that you can get in 2019, available at KnifeCenter.com. Let's check them out. So cold steel is probably most well known for some of their over-the-top knife demonstration videos. Those videos have a flair for the dramatic, and a lot of their knives have the same thing, taking cues from martial arts and tactical needs, but they also make a lot of really good utility options as well. And we're going to take a look at a broad spectrum here today. So first we're going to take a look at the Cold Steel Toughlight. Available in a few different colors, but right here is the blue handled version. This is a very compact knife when it's folded up, but thanks to a nice integrated choil right here, you can still get a nice full grip on this knife and really put that Wharncliffe blade to bear. It is Aussate steel with a hollow grind, and cold steel gives us one of the best factory edges in the business, and it's no exception here. We also get a 2-position pocket clip set up for tip down carry, as well as a large lanyard slot here, but the real star is that lock. And while this may look like an ordinary lockback, this is actually Cold Steel's Tri-Ad lock. That lock was actually developed by Andrew Demko, who has a very close relationship with Cold Steel and whose influence can be felt across the range, which you're about to see. Where it differs from a standard lockback is that it's got more going on underneath the hood that actually makes it stronger than your typical lockback. They've added a stop pin to the knife, which when you're putting it to hard use, that kind of helps to redistribute the forces around the handle, making it less susceptible to breaking. They've also angled some of the surfaces of the lock interface as well, which is going to make this a self-adjusting system over time. Whereas sometimes an older lockback can feel a little loose and wiggly, over time this is going to be just as solid as it was when you first got it. Whereas with a lot of companies, you might see their proprietary locking mechanisms only available on their higher end knives, the fact that you can get it in such an affordable piece as the Toughlight is fantastic. The price to performance to weight ratio of this knife is really hard to beat. Next up is another working man's knife from Cold Steel, and that's the Prolight series. You can get it in a couple of different blade options, but right here we've got the Tonto blade. That blade shape certainly calls to mind some of Cold Steel's more tactical roles, but it also makes a great utility knife as well. We've got stonewashed German 4116 steel. Like the Toughlight, we've got Grivex handles, which keep the weight down, but we've also got a nice pattern in the handles that help keep your traction. And again, we've got that excellent Tri-Ad lock to keep things secure. Another advantage of a locking system like this is that it's not biased to right or left-handed use. It is a very ambidextrous design, and that's furthered on this knife because we have a reversible pocket clip for either side, as well as use a reversible thumb stud here. You are able to open it with the left or right hand while it's set up like this. This allows you to set the knife up to your preferred method of carry, but even so, it's still easy to open up the knife using the smaller side of that stud. Next up is actually an update of one of Cold Steel's longest serving models, and that's the Recon 1, shown again here with a Tonto blade profile. This is definitely a higher end knife featuring S35 VN steel as well as G10 handle scales, so you get a nice upgraded materials over the Prolights. But this is still a hard-working pattern from Cold Steel that's been in service for quite a few years, and this latest version is the best one yet. That steel is going to hold a great edge, and on this version we've even got a black DLC coating, which is going to help protect the blade and make it look great for even longer. The Tri-Ad lock here in the handle is not the only thing that helps with the security on this blade. We've also got a very aggressive texturing, and the way the finger grooves are lined up, in combination with the thumb ramp here, make it very easy for that to lock into your grip, but still control it very easily. Next up, we've got a folding version of one of the premier fixed blades in Cold Steel's lineup, the SRK, and that gets us the SR1 folder. Again, we've got nicely textured G10 scales, shown here in OD green, as well as a Tri-Ad lock. This knife takes things a step further with a very thick blade stock. The SRK fixed blade has long been a favorite of hardcore survivalists, so it's good to see that they didn't lose a lot of strength when they went to this folder. We've got a clip point profile here, but you can also get it with a Tonto, with S35 VN steel, and we've got a nice short flat grind on this blade. They didn't take the grind too high up because they did want to maintain a lot of strength, but it still slices quite nicely, and again, we've got that fantastic factory edge. They've also perfectly balanced this knife as well. Whereas a lot of folders can be handle heavy, they've actually managed to keep the balance point right there around the index finger, which even though this is a nice big chunky blade, that makes it handle very easily because you're not fighting the weight of the blade. Even so, if you want a little bit more control, we do have a nice finger guard here, which is appreciated in any kind of survival knife, but there's a nice area in front that allows you to choke up, much like you would be able to if it were a finger choil. That'll allow you to get right behind the edge and do some really fine work very easily. One more thing to note on this knife, is unlike the previous ones, we actually have 2 full-size thumb studs. Next up, we've got a knife that has a lot of the same attributes as those SR1 folders, but it's put together in a little sleeker and a little easier to carry package, and that's the Cold Steel Ultimate Hunter. And this is actually one of our all-time favorite pocket knives for use in the outdoors. What they've done with this knife is taken a classic drop point hunting profile and translate it into a folding knife that's going to work great for camping, hiking, bushcraft, or survival. We've still got that nice Tri-Ad lock here in the back, but instead of textured flat G10, we've actually got smooth contoured G10. Because of that, this is actually one of the most comfortable folders out there, and it allows you to put it to really heavy work without it digging in as much as some other designs. The blade shape has versatility in mind as well. It's a bit thinner and still has a higher grind than those SR1s, but we still get S35 VN steel, and overall this is a great compromise between strength and slicing efficiency. We've also got nice color options for the handle. You can either get it in black or this orange G10. In addition to having the lock that he designed, this is actually a collaboration between Andrew Demko and Cold Steel's president, Lynn Thompson. This next design, however, is all Andrew Demko, and this is one of the hottest releases from Cold Steel in a long time, and that's the AD-15. These are modeled after Andrew Demko's custom versions of the AD-15, and they come with the same lock that made them famous, that being the Scorpion lock. This does bear some similarities to a lockback design, in that the lockup does occur here between this yoke and the tang of the knife, but it operates very differently. To disengage the blade, you actually lift up on the yoke and then fold the blade shut. Opening, however, is just as easy as any other thumb stud equipped knife. This being such a new system, it does take a little bit of getting used to operate, but once you do, it's very easy to open and close very quickly without much effort. Because of the thumb studs and the nature of that yoke, this still is a very ambidextrous design. One of the other nice things about this lock is that no matter how hard you use it, the tighter you squeeze, the less likely it is to come open accidentally. And also because of the way it operates, you're actually able to keep your fingers out of the closing path of the blade when you're disengaging, which is a huge advantage and inherently safer than some other systems. Now with Cold Steel's reputation, they certainly could have chosen to put this new lock on something a little more out there, but I for one am really happy that they've put it on something like this knife, which is so usable. We've got a nice drop point blade with S35 VN steel, with a flat grind and a swedge. The handle feels nice and comfortable, and you can just tell when you hold it that this is a knife that can hold up to hard work and is going to feel great doing it. Cold Steel certainly made a splash with the introduction of the AD-15, and the same thing can be said with the Luzon series. There is a 6-inch version of this knife that is just out of this world, but I actually prefer the slightly smaller 4-inch version. It's still got plenty of Cold Steel swagger, but it's a nice, easy to carry size, and you could get a lot of work done with this knife as well. The shapes of these knives were actually inspired by ballad songs from Lynn Thompson's personal collection, so if you like that kind of style but want a more standard folding knife, the Luzons have it. Great thing about these series is they're affordable as well. With synthetic handles and 8CR steel, you're getting a good amount of performance for what you're paying. And the lockup is still nice and solid. Rather than the Tri-Ad lock, we've got a liner lock. On the backside, we actually see one of Cold Steel's latest innovations that makes that liner lock even tougher. It's a secondary slide lock, which actually holds the liner lock in place when the blade is open. Thanks to that secondary mechanism, we get an extra layer of safety on an already fantastic lock. And now for something completely different, we're starting to get into the things that Cold Steel does just because they can, and we love them for it. And this is the FGX Balisong. In the construction of this knife, they actually use no metal at all. This is all synthetic material, but we do have some pretty aggressive serrations on this blade, however. At first look, this may seem just like a novelty, but we actually like it for a few reasons beyond the cool factor. It's never going to flip as nicely as a high-end Balisong, but it does flip well enough to make a capable trainer. This is something that you'd have no qualms if you're flipping it over concrete, because if you drop it, you're not going to mess up your high-end blade. It's going to help teach you to respect the blade when you're flipping. If you do happen to make a mistake with this knife, it is going to cause you some discomfort, but you're not going to have to worry as much as you would with a live blade. And of course, it wouldn't be a complete Cold Steel list without something completely over the top. And right now, our favorite is the Espada XL. This is a two-handed pocket knife with a Tri-Ad lock again, and CTS XHP steel with a DLC coating. Knives like this are why we love Cold Steel, because while some of you out there might think this is a novelty, they've built it to exacting specifications to make this an actual hard-working tool. The handles on this knife are actually modeled after the Recon series, and it has that same nice texturing on the black G10. Because of the length of the handle, you can also choke back on this in a number of different ways. I like holding it back here, and it actually makes it swing very nicely. Pocket machete, anyone? And finally, we've got another area where Andrew Demko has left his stamp on a cold steel knife, and that's with his patented thumb plate. Not only does this allow ambidextrous use, but it actually allows it to function like some of their tactical competitors, and it lets you open the blade as you're extracting it from your pocket. If you don't think that fits in your pocket, you might be surprised. Ultimately, it may have been a little hard to narrow this list down to just 9 items, but we really think that these are some of the best items from Cold Steel that you can get in 2019. If you want to get your hands on any of these or any of their other great products, click the link in the description below to head over to KnifeCenter.com.